What's up, YouTube? That just sounds so wrong coming out of my mouth, especially in like my grandpa outfit. I am not here to talk about my outfit today. I am here to talk about egg donations, and I have been requested to make this video for a very long time. The reason it took so long is because I wanted to make sure I was actually doing an egg donation while filming, because I think it will give a more authentic experience for everyone asking questions. I think I can better provide insight into how I'm feeling and what it's like to do the actual injections and to travel for it and go into the clinic every day, that kind of thing. So that is going to be part 2. So that video will come after this one. This video is going to be more about kind of frequently asked questions, what it's like to apply, what are the qualifications, are there side effects, that kind of thing. So I'm going to start with the application process. I personally would apply to multiple agencies just because you don't know what each one is looking for. They may already have somebody who's a lot like you, so they might reject you for that reason. Applying to 3 is just going to increase your options of getting selected to do egg donation. When you're applying to 3, when you're filling out the first application, make sure you save all of your answers into a Word document or something, somewhere where you can copy paste them to the next couple of applications that you fill out, because these questionnaires are really long. They take about 20 to 30 minutes to fill out because it's a lot of family history, just really basic information about like your height and weight and address and all of that fun stuff. And then also a lot of questions like, what were you good at in high school? What are your SAT scores? Blah, 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 blah. So copy paste. Make sure you do that, because you will be kicking yourself if you are on that second application and they're asking the same questions over again and you have to rewrite it all. There's my 2 cents on that. Personally, I would say go with an agency on the East or West Coast. I haven't actually worked with any agencies in the Midwest, but I've found that East and West Coast agencies, namely in California and in New York or Boston area, tend to be very good agencies. All the ones that I've worked with have been in those areas. What it's going to look like when you go to these websites is they will usually have an FAQ form, which is essentially what I'm going to give you right now. And that is going to be what qualifies you, what disqualifies you, that kind of thing. We'll start with age. Most agencies want you to be 21 or up, and max 29, I think. So that's about the range of ages that they want. Can they be lenient? Yes, sometimes. If you really want to donate your eggs, apply. It's not going to hurt. Worst thing that can happen is they say no. The first time I donated, I was 19. That was 5 years ago, so things may have changed. But I applied. I think they originally wanted people who were 21, but I applied nonetheless. I wrote a little comment that said, I know I'm 19, but if you could give me a call, maybe we can work something out. And I think I did it then, but then after that, I had to wait till I was 21. So anything can happen. Doesn't hurt to throw out an application and see what happens. After age, they do want you to have a somewhat comprehensive idea of your family history. So anyone who's adopted or doesn't have access to their family history records or some sort of something that gives them an idea of what your family history is like, this might be a little difficult for you and you might not qualify, just because you are giving someone a child, and to care for that child, it's pretty important to the recipients to know any potential family illnesses, things that could have been passed down, so that they can, to the best of their abilities, care for this child. That is one thing that can get a little tricky. Again, apply. Worst thing that can happen is they say no. Usually they are looking for women who are non-smokers, fit. I think on the website that I'm looking at, it says BMI of 27 or lower, preferably. And then usually they would prefer you to be well educated or at least have some sort of college experience. I know that I've gotten in before I went to college. I had tested pretty okay on my ACT tests, but the other thing that they're looking for are motivated people. So it doesn't necessarily disqualify you if you were never phenomenal education-wise. What they're mostly, I would say, looking for are people who stand out, who are motivated, who have really pushed themselves to do well in their life. And again, this is couples who are looking, usually I would say, for either outstanding candidates. So maybe they want that like outstanding human being who, you know, excels at everything, or maybe they're looking for somebody who's very much like them and they're looking for somebody who really loves to travel and is really into reading, or is really crafty, or is an atheist, or, you know, there's a plethora of reasons why somebody would choose one person over another. So you can never, I wouldn't cut yourself off. I would apply. And I'm going to say that after every one of these questions, because it doesn't hurt to apply. All that can happen is they say, sorry, no, this isn't going to work. But apply, because you never know. And there are plenty of people out there who want a child that's more like them than not. So maybe you are going to stand out to somebody. Don't be discouraged. Next, you can go on to the application page, and this is going to be where you're applying to this egg donation agency. And this is where the questionnaire just is really nice and long. So the first page tends to be like name, age, address, social security number, that kind of thing. Boring stuff that you would fill out on any form. Then the next page tends to be questions about any family history, like family medical history. I know there's things like lung cancer, Crohn's disease, or seasonal allergies, or cystic fibrosis, or colon cancer, you know, just like so many different anything, right? And they just want as much information as you have on your family. These things do not necessarily disqualify you. I know in my family, I've got alcoholics. My grandmother died of lung cancer. People have depression in my family. There's so many different things, and it's just really important to be honest about them, because again, you're giving somebody a potential child and they want to be as informed as they can be about what kind of risks this child might have growing up and how to treat them and care for them and make sure they're the healthiest they can be. So please be honest about these things to the best of your ability. Then there's the page. This is my favorite page because it just is like all of the long-winded answers that you have to give. It's going to ask things like, did you have any academic achievements? Were you in any clubs? Were you in any athletic teams? What was your ACT, SAT score? Do you know your IQ? Were you musically inclined? Were you in marching band? Do you speak other languages? Do you have any specific skills like snowboarding or figure skating or gymnastics? And then there's questions about, where do you see yourself in 5 years? How would you describe your personality? What are your hobbies? What are your interests? There's just so many of those questions. These are the parts where it's like you want to give really good answers, right? But if you're applying for 3 different places, again, copy paste, because they will ask a lot of the same things. Yeah, just try to be genuine. What's going to happen with these is it's going to go on your profile if you get accepted, and the people who are looking for potential donors want to know about you. They want to hear more about what you're like, what your interests are, what your strengths were, all of those kind of things, and it's gonna matter to them. And then if you get accepted to the agency, what an agency is basically, this does not mean that you are automatically going to be doing an egg donation. This just means that the agency has accepted you as a potential donor. They're gonna collect photos and information from you, and they will put you on their website. You have a little profile. It's usually password protected, just so that the people who are actually looking are the only ones who can see it. Usually they won't have your name. You'll just be under a number, because they tend to be anonymous donations. And so the recipients will look through a bunch of profiles, and if they select you, then your agency will get in contact with you. Sometimes this can take months. So don't expect this to be an immediate thing. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. This is just something that you should sign up for and put it in the back of your mind. If it goes through, it goes through, and that's great. But do not rely on this as a job. Don't do that. Once you're selected, what happens is you will start the paperwork process. Because even once you get selected, it's still months of a process to, fill out all the paperwork, go through all the psychevals. You will usually set up a psycheval. It's pretty routine. You just go in, or you do it over the phone, and you'll have somebody talk to you who will just ask you questions. Have you had depression? Have you, how do you feel about this process? Do you have family members or friends that you talk to about it? Is there kind of a support system? Things like that. They just want to gauge whether you can emotionally handle the process and whether you're going to be okay knowing that your genetic material is going to be out there. They're just trying to gauge whether you're going to be all right. So once that's done, you'll usually go into the doctors for kind of a once-over, like a physical, just to make sure you're good. There will be paperwork. You will be emailing back and forth, lots of paperwork. There will be one main contract, usually. This contract is going to be really long. It's going to be about 20 pages, and it's going to be a lot of legal jargon that you're not going to understand. Don't worry. What happens is the agency appoints you, I can't remember if it's an attorney. It's somebody in the legal field who will go over they will call you, they will have sent you the contract ahead of time, and they will go over the contract with you. So you will have been expected to have read it already, write down any questions you have, anything that you want to maybe fix in the contract. The attorney will go over it with you, tell you anything they think maybe you should have changed just to make it beneficial to you. Read through it. I really recommend reading through it. Don't just skim it and read it. You should have kind of an idea of what is going into this contract and what you're signing up for. There's a lot of things in the contract about you're giving up your rights to this genetic material. It's not going to be yours anymore. You have no legal rights to try to reclaim it, that kind of thing. You should know that before you're going into this. That's just what it is. It will also talk about your compensation. So make sure you read your compensation, make sure it's in there and it's correct. This will also go over your travel. If you're traveling for this, your agency should be paying for everything. All of the medical expenses, all of the clinic visits, you should not be paying for anything. Unless it's something you're paying up front, like a taxi fee, and you're saving the receipt and they're going to reimburse you at the end. Everything should be taken care of. So if you're traveling for donation, this should also be in your contract. All of the flight expenses, all of the hotel, all of the per diem, you should be getting a per diem for traveling. Maybe you'll be getting $50 to $75 per day, and that's kind of what you're using for food. And mostly it's for food. It's essentially supposed to compensate you for having to eat out every day. Whether you do or not, that's up to you. You could save all of the per diem you get and buy groceries and keep it in the hotel fridge. It comes in a check, you get to keep that, and whether you use all of it every day is up to you. They should also be reimbursing you for any Ubers or Lyfts that you take, from the airport to your hotel. A lot of agencies will allow you a rental car. I did not know that. When I first signed up, I was trying to be as low maintenance as possible, which is fine. You can be low maintenance. I was so worried about creating a fuss, right? But you're entitled to, I ended up stuck in hotels for a week at a time, just wanting to blow my brains out because I was so bored. But, that's the greatness of a rental car. So take advantage of a rental car. If you get flown out to Boston and you haven't seen Boston, you're there for a week. And you're gonna be running for groceries. You're gonna be wanting to go out to eat. You're gonna be wanting to, it's okay to have a rental car. Put that in the contract. They're gonna be okay with that. And if they're not, it's up to you. It depends on what you are okay with. If you're fine, if you're like, oh, it's fine. I will only Uber to and from the hotel. That's up to you. After all these years of doing it, I also know I really want a rental car because I know that I go stir crazy in a hotel with no way to leave. That's something I like to have in my contract. So go over your contract, make sure everything you want and everything that is going to make you comfortable is in that contract, and everything's very clear. I cannot stress enough how much you should be asking questions and be assertive. I spent so many years just trying to be as little amount of trouble as possible, and it's okay to ask for the things that you want, and also to ask for clarification on anything. And don't be afraid to talk to anyone. Your coordinators, your nurses, your agency, your doctors, all of them are there to make sure you're doing well, you're happy, you understand what's going on. Always ask questions. I'm not a medical professional, so I'm giving you information, but I also don't want to be your only source of information. Getting into that, a lot of people ask me, are there side effects? How does it feel? What is it actually like? All I can say about this is from my own personal experiences. Do other people have different experiences? Absolutely. Do your research. Go on Google. Ask the same question. If I haven't answered it, or if I have answered it and you want other viewpoints, Google it or go on YouTube. There's so many people who are putting blogs out there telling you about their experiences, and I'm just one case. Personally, all of my donations have gone really smoothly. I, in the first place, don't have very heavy periods at all. I don't really get cramping. Sometimes I get nauseous. They're really minimal for the most part though, and I don't have that big of a problem with periods. So my donations, I have not had a problem with them either. They really only feel like kind of a heavier period. They feel like I get bloated and I just don't feel great. So I'm at a hotel. I hang out in the hotel when I'm not feeling great and just lay low. It's fine. That's what you're there for. Do other people have different experiences? Probably. I will say some people feel a lot more, bloated and gross and need to stay in the hotel. Or after the donation, they really feel crampy and they need to stay in bed all day. It's like, for me, it always has felt like a really bad crampy day. And so I have all my food stocked up, or I'm planning on ordering food, and I have movies on lineup, and I just stay in the hotel all day. One thing I forgot to mention is if you are traveling, you also get a companion. You should be able to get a companion to fly with you. All expenses paid. Usually they get a per diem too. Depends on your contract. You can negotiate that. So it's like a free vacation for one of your friends, I suppose. Though they are there to be with you. They're specifically there to be with you during the retrieval date. Basically, they'll come with you to the clinic, and while you're put under, they'll be out in the waiting room, and then they're just there so that they can drive you back to the hotel. That's like all they're there for, and to make sure you're just like okay after. Yeah, and that's about all I have to tell you for this portion of the video. This is a big one. I did not know about this when I first started donating, and I literally had to do another donation to cover the taxes. This is taxable income. So be aware of that. If you're gonna do this for the first time, consult with a tax person just to find out how much you're going to be owing. The problem with this is I think it counts as independent contracting, so none of the taxes are taken out beforehand. My first donation, they gave me the full amount. You get it like a few days after the donation, and you go deposit that in your account, and you're like, yes, great, whoopee. Yeah, turns out you have to pay taxes on it, and some agencies will send you an I-9, I think. A lot of them will not send you anything, which is why I didn't know. And so the first year that I got an I-9, I was like, oh shoot, that can be a lot of money. To be safe, would take out 25%. Just take it right out. Set it in a savings account. That's probably going to be more than you need to take out, but just do it. Immediately upon getting the check, take 25% out of that check and put it in your savings for tax season. And then when you figure out how much the taxes are, at least you'll be getting a little bit back out of your savings, because it probably won't be 25%. Still, it's gonna be a lot, so just don't even look at that 25%. Keep it in there. Keep it in your savings, because you're probably gonna have to pay a lot for taxes. I do want to talk about risks. Short term, There are some medical complications that can occur. It is a procedure, so you are signing up for that. You should know that. That is usually covered in medical insurance while you're doing the donation. So the intended parents should be covering some sort of insurance for that. That will be in your contract. Make sure it's in there. The other thing I want to talk about is your ability to decide to do this. Everyone has their own opinions on this. It is only for them to decide if they want to do it, and it is not really for anyone else to comment on. I know before I even had started filming this video and I was only talking about putting it out there because I've done it, I've been getting comments from people saying, don't do it, and I have made my decision. I have researched it. I have worked really hard to be informed and know my body and know how I feel about it and know if I'm going to be okay mentally with the decision. And I've made my decision and I am very comfortable with it. I wouldn't be sharing it if I wasn't. I'm also well aware that different people have different lines that they just can't cross because that's how their brain works and that's like what they're okay with and what they're not okay with. Like for me personally, I am totally fine with egg donations. I don't feel any connection to the genetic material. I flush this out every month. I have no connection to it. I don't really care. That's where I'm okay with. Surrogacy, on the other hand, I don't think I could do surrogacy. It's just not for me. I think like growing a being and birthing a being that has grown inside me for 9 months, I don't think I could do that. I would form some sort of emotional connection and it would be too much for me. But then there are people out there who love being pregnant and don't necessarily feel the attachment to the child that they're growing, which is amazing for somebody who wants to end up with that child. That's great that that can be a thing. Personally, not my thing. I couldn't do it. I think that's a great that those people can. And I can also appreciate that some people could never wrap their minds around egg donation. I have friends who completely are like, wow, think that's great, but I could not. It's too weird to me that my genetic material is out there. I would feel like that's my baby, that is part of me, and that's also totally fine. Everybody has different opinions on it, but ultimately, it is my body, it's your body. I don't think it's for anyone to say whether my choice is right or wrong. I get to decide what is okay with my body. And I don't really feel like anybody should be criticizing people who are thinking about doing this. I don't think they should be making anybody feel ashamed. So please, in the comments or in real life, anywhere, be respectful of the people who are trying to make this decision, and it's a big one. So don't attack people. Be kind. If you want to have a discussion, like a real discussion, not one where you're just yelling at somebody, that makes sense. You know, have a discussion. Try to understand somebody else's perspective. That's a good thing. But please don't attack people. This is a very personal decision, and a lot of people have to spend a lot of time thinking about it, and they have reached their own conclusions, and I think it's important that everybody respect each other's decisions when it concerns their own body, when it concerns their own lives. Okay, so let's just leave that there and be respectful to everybody. Thank you.